Hello everyone, welcome back to Creations Crypto, and tonight we're going to go over a couple things back here. So let's get started. We're going to turn hash, which is hashing power of GPUs, into cash, which is fiat currency or American dollars. So let's go over a couple of things here. We have the ASIC miners, which are application specific integrated circuit products, and they have one specific goal, is to do hashing for a specific type of I want to say not coin, but the cryptocurrency, the kind of mathematics they use. So these machines have specific purposes. One of the things that I don't like about ASICs is that when they're done, they're done. You can't resell these off to somebody and recoup some of your money like you can a GPU. GPUs, these are different types of minings. So you have GPUs, which are graphical processor units, which basically are what gamers use for years, and they now come to find out that the GPUs can be used for doing the mathematics a lot better than a CPU, which is for central processing unit. They do a lot better job. So what we do now is we use GPUs to do the mathematics, and then eventually at some point, a lot of guys, as we use these, we sell them off as used products to someone. You can't really do that with an ASIC miner because nobody really wants to buy those used, because once they get to that point, they're not worth anymore. So we have GPUs, the ASIC miners, and their physical hardware. You have Sponduli SP20, which I don't know a lot about, but that's one of the, I think those are the specific ones that are designed kind of more like an ASIC, but it's designed like a GPU. So you can look up, go to Google and look up Sponduli SP20, and it'll teach you some of that. Then you have CPUs that go along with the GPUs, which the CPUs, Central Processing Unit, are part of a computer motherboard when you buy it. They all have CPUs. A GPU can be added later, although motherboards have to have some kind of graphical environment, graphic chips in there so that you can see the information. And then we have the wireless motherboards, which is kind of neat, but I think it's kind of a newer kind of thing. And basically, instead of having to get risers and have all this stuff externally, it has one long motherboard, and you take the GPUs and you slide them directly on top of that motherboard, and you just line them up one at a time. So now you don't have to have all this stuff. You have a power supply to the motherboard and the GPUs lined up. And it's pretty basic. And then you also have to have an SSD drive or an M.2 that you can get on those boards. Or a regular hard disk drive, which is a platter type. Bitcoin is called cryptocurrency. So basically, if we look back to the word Bitcoin, is one kind of many kinds of coins, but typically it was started out as Bitcoin, and then you have all these altcoins is what they call those. The altcoins do the same kind of thing, but it's a different kind of coin. So someday, yeah, look up Google and look up altcoins, and I'll go over that at some point. Cryptocurrency. Now, one of the things that I found was really neat when I got into this, that it isn't only just about having the coin and being able to purchase things on the internet or in companies, but the fact that you own, I have to fix that. The fact that you own the currency called Bitcoin or any of the altcoins is one day you could be sleeping, get up at 7 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and the coin that you owned now went up. Let's do this. The coin that you owe, let's say it was worth $6,400. When I bought mine, I spent $2, and I'm a millionaire here, $2, and bought a piece or a percentage of one coin. That one coin cost about $6,400, give or take some. What's neat is this $6,400, you can wake up that next morning and it could be worth $7,000 instead of $6,400. Just because they mixed buying power with the stock market. Regular American dollars, fiat currency, does not do that. When you own the American dollar, it has a value when you wake up in the morning. It has the same buying power for the most part. Inflation kicks in, but the majority every day, it has, if you have a $20 bill, you buy $20 worth today, tomorrow it's worth $20. So it typically, fiat currency, American dollars, will go down in value, doesn't have the ability to go up in value just because you own it. Investing in the stock market is where you invest and you buy the rights to sell a piece of a company to another person and make profit. you really don't own anything in the company. Some people say, well, I own the company. You don't own the company. You can't walk into Procter & Gamble and go take a chair because you say you own that company. No, you can't. You only have the right to buy a piece of paper that says you have stock and hold it for a period of time, and then hopefully you can sell it to someone else for a higher value than what you purchased it for. That's the only rights that you really have on the stock market when we're talking about specifically stocks. When you're talking about commodities and these other things, it's a whole different issue. But a stock is a piece of paper that gives you the right to sell it to someone else for a higher value in the future. So cryptocurrency, when I wake up in the morning, it simply can go up because people say it has more value. Currency doesn't do that. That's why it's the way people are going to do things in the future. The regular stock market, the New York Stock Exchange, I don't remember what the actual ticker is. They have a ticker. If you ever watch that ticker that goes down the bottom, they have all these abbreviations. Ripple has an abbreviation called XRP, and you'll get to know all these abbreviations as time goes by. So you can look up Coinbase. I can't remember exactly what. We'll get into that in another video. But there's a whole stock market based on this, and I'll have a teaching about that later. Cloud mining is another thing that you might get into, and that's really basically you're borrowing or you're buying time on another computer, and they're doing all the work and maintaining it, and you're giving them money, and they're giving you rewards. I did that, and I come to find out that having your own rig or your own GPUs and your own computers and so forth is a lot better than doing cloud mining. And that's really where you're giving money to somebody else and borrowing their hardware. The term that I did not know about until recently is fiat currency, is basically the American dollar, and some of the other countries actually have a thing called fiat currency. So if you go to Google and look at fiat currency, you understand a lot better the explanation. Again, this is just a general. Someday I'll go over that. We also have pools, and that's what I do. I actually take my GPUs and my rig, and I actually hook up to someone else along with Fred and Paul and Mary and Sue and Carol Sue and John Paul and all the different kinds of people throughout the world now. They actually take their computers and they let other people borrow it to do mathematics, and we get paid a % of the profit for loaning our machine out to someone else. I like that. So that's what you call pool. You're connecting to someone else's computers and getting paid for the work you do. I think for now, I've pretty much gone on with everything. Now here's one of the things that I sat down and did right off the bat. I put a little note here because I added this for everybody. Let's do the numbers a minute on this. And you'll see why I like doing this. If you have one rig that has 7 cards in it, so you have a rig, and we'll try to draw this, and it actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and let's put the 7th one here. And you put the motherboard in the middle, and the power supplies and whatnot's in the back, and the hard drive and so forth. You have a rig, and you have 7 of those. Well, if that rig is making $17 per card, that's about $119 a month. And these are approximations. Just stick with me here. That per week times 4 gives you about $476 a month. Did I do that right? A week time? Yeah, per month. $476 a month. If I'm wrong, I'll have to re-look at all this, but I'm pretty sure it's right. And if you take that times 12, that's 5,000 times 12 is $5,712 of money that you brought in. So I looked at this and I said, well, what's the electric cost and what's the invested dollars? Well, that's the question. Is a rig, if you go to Shark Mining, run you about $4,000. So in a year, I looked at this and I said, assuming that the value of $17 is correct, then within a year to a year and a quarter-ish, you can return, get all the money back that you spent based on the value today. If the value of the coin goes up in value, your return comes in faster because people said, hey, this has value, so the coin value goes up, and you get paid based on that. And I said, wait a minute, that means that let's say it takes a year to get my investment back, and most technologies take you get about 3 years. Every technology is a little different, but you get about 3 years with a computer and with different things. So the GPUs, I would say, probably will last about 3 years-ish. So that means that, let's say it takes a year to year and a half to get the investment back, and now I got a year to year and a half of income that I didn't have before just by letting a computer sit in the corner and run. Occasionally I'm going to have to do things and find out why some things don't work, but you're going to spend some time. But to me, if I can make, let's say it's not $5,000 in a year, it's $3,000 for that second year. 1, 2, 3. I make $3,000 after my investment comes back for that back end of the investment. That's $3,000 for one rig that I didn't have before. Well, what if I do this times another rig and 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 duplicate this in my home? Well, let's say that worst case scenario, it's not $3,000 and it's $2,000. And I make $2,000 per year per rig. 2,000 times how many rigs? Well, let's go 2,000 times 20 rigs. And I'm doing this on the cuff, so bear with me here. So times 20, so 2,000 times 20, which is, let's do that in fingers. 20, 40, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's $10,000 for 5 rigs. So that's $20,000 for 10 rigs. So you got $20,000. Whoops. You got $20,000 for I think it was 10 rigs. I said. Of course, I didn't do all this, but I'm doing this in my head. For 10 rigs. I said, oh, there are people that make $20,000 a year working at a job 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, making this kind of money. I said, that's a full-time income for a basic person with basic bills with no fluff, but you could almost live on this. And I said, well, wait a minute. What if you had 20 rigs? 20 rigs get you $40,000 at today's rate, which is, what was it? I guess it's right about it's about $6,400 now. It went up to $8,000. Now it's back to $64,000. But again, I made more money for that period of time. I looked at this and I said, $40,000. Most people are living on $40,000 a day in 2018. And then I said, whoa, if you take 20 rigs and pull that to 40, now you're at $80,000 a year. I said, 40 rigs, you could put a storage shed together and put 40 rigs in it and cool it and make enough money to live and just have machines running your home. And you don't actually have to go to work and show up and get mad at your boss and deal with all the problems that the jobs are. This could be your income. The key is most people don't have the amount of money it's going to take to get 20 or 30 rigs going, so you have to find investors. Well, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm in the process of doing it now. I don't know if you watch my channel, but there's a whole lot of growth that's happening as I go through this. So I go over all this to show you that there's ways outside of a job that you could start at home and eventually turn it into what you do. Put enough rigs in and you can have a full-time income. If you do it right, there isn't a whole lot of maintenance to it. You simply just have to watch the rigs every morning, make sure they're right, make sure the currencies, make sure your hash rates are correct, and, you know, educate yourself. It's a pretty good life to sit in the air conditioner in a room and watch your rigs and fix things when they break. I think most people, any techie, would want to do this. I don't know why you wouldn't, but that's all right. So I think that's good for now. If you have any questions, give us a call. My number is 513-549-4093. I provide consulting services and computer repair, so if you have any needs, let me know. Thanks.